Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to delivering information that's important to you and your community. Your hosts are Nathaniel and Patricia Gadsden.
Hello, and welcome again to Life Esteem. Always great to have you as a viewer. Hey, today we're going to talk about something that happened in the city of Harrisburg that just sort of blew our mind.
Yes,
Anyhow,
it
it had tremendous historical significance. If you missed it, we're going to tell you all about it. We have with us Lenwood Sloan, Director of Cultural and Heritage Tourism, and also attorney par excellence, Sheila Dow Ford. And thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
So, Lenwood, I'm going to start with you and just kind of frame exactly what took place over the past couple weekends.
Well, we're coming up on the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. It actually began October 1 of 2010, this 5-year celebration. States were asked each to come up with a signature event as a curtain raiser on that. We chose the Grand Review of the U.S. Colored Troops in Harrisburg, 1865, as our signature event, and launched a year-long project called African American Patriots and the Civil War, of which the Grand Review weekend was our zenith. But we also had programs in communities, in sacred spaces, in schools, and those programs continue through 2011 Black History.
Fantastic. And Sheila, I know that you were a witness to it all. You were a participant.
I was.
Yes, indeed. What were your feelings about that whole, weekend?
It just filled me up. There are so many of the moments were just so incredibly poignant. I felt a sense of a linkage to my forebears. I am a native daughter of Pennsylvania, and so in that respect, it was very important to me. And Lenwood and I have talked about that in previous conversations. I am especially intrigued by some of the events that are yet to come, such as the commemoration of the cemeteries where the U.S. colored troops are buried. And I'd just like to talk about one moment. There are many moments we could talk about from this past weekend, but bring it forward to what Lenwood will be doing this coming weekend. I was at the dinner on Friday, and there were members of, I think it's the Harris AME Church, who were present there, and they were seated behind me at the table behind my table, and I knew members of the church family who were there, and I said, "It's so nice to see you here." And a woman said to me, she said, "Sheila, we are responsible for the grave sites for one of the cemeteries."
Yes, and that's a wonderful thing. When we began planning this weekend, Pat and that, we discovered that two things. We discovered that the records of these African Americans were literally withering in our state archives. I mean, literally withering away, the paper breaking down, and that the graves were vanishing from the landscape, either because the communities and churches had ceased to do their stewardship through the aging of their communities, or municipal grave. You know, African American graves sites were always 1 mile from the city line, and so these folks were as segregated in death as they were in life. And stewardship committees established in the 19th century to establish these black cemeteries. We looked at that and we said, we need to have 21st century stewardship committees. So we selected 25 cemeteries across Pennsylvania. Your listeners and viewers can join us in Midland, in Steeltown, in Lincoln, in Pembroke, in Union, in Carlisle, in Pottsville. We talked about the great Pottsville, AME Church Cemetery.
That's right.
On November 14th at 11 o'clock in services and at 2 o'clock in those cemeteries, we're going to be laying wreaths, placing our flags. But throughout the next year, we're going to be fixing the gravestones, replacing veteran markers, working against erosion, building fences, building nonprofits to take over those cemeteries as stewards.
Important work.
Important work to keep that hallowed ground and that sacred place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if I can just add something, I attended Lincoln University for 2 years and then finished at another institution, LaSalle in Philadelphia, and then went on to law school. But here's what's important. As a young student in 1972 at Lincoln University, I would visit a little chapel. There was the main chapel on the campus itself, but a little chapel by the side of the road there that had been there since the university, or perhaps predated the university's establishment. But we also would go into the little village of Lincoln, and there were cemeteries. U.S. colored troops. There was a U.S. colored troops cemetery there. And you mentioned Lincoln. We remember that cemetery.
Wow.
And there was also the train. There was a train line that came through there. And it was our understanding that that was a part of the train line that carried Abraham Lincoln. I don't know whether that is just apocryphal or not, but I do know that it meant something to us as young students at Lincoln University, and that's what's important.
And it's American history.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not only African American.
Absolutely.
I'd like to share two really quick stories with you.
Yeah.
The first is Lincoln Colored Cemetery.
Okay.
In Mechanicsburg. Now, the Lincoln Colored Cemetery in Mechanicsburg is on the farm of an Amish farmer.
Okay.
He found in the middle of his cornfield 71 graves.
Wow.
And he created, well, he didn't create, but he perpetuated it as a cemetery in a grove of trees. Then the Vietnam veterans of Mechanicsburg went to their commandant and said, we're looking for some place to honor for Memorial Day. Do you want to assign us to a cemetery?
Okay.
So the Vietnam veterans of Mechanicsburg were assigned to the Amish farmers' black cemetery. And we went in
What a moment.
with
That's
an organization called Pen Trails that is a conservation. They actually preserve rural roadways and trails, and they helped us to restore the erosion, and they were concerned that some of those trees were going to fall out onto the gravestones and smash them. So we cut down those trees, and when we took them out, we found another 20 graves. And so we were able to tell another 20 descendants who their people are and where they're. We'll be in that cemetery this weekend, and many, many more. Our mayor of Harrisburg, Linda D. Thompson's family, started the Union Cemetery in Carlisle. Her great-great-grandfather is Lloyd Watts, buried in the Gettysburg Lincoln Cemetery. And these African-American cemeteries, there's over 30 named for Lincoln himself. And in the Emancipation Proclamation year, we want to actually lift up those Lincoln hallowed ground places and link them together in a virtual tour so that African Americans can follow the hallowed ground experience.
You know, what I'd like to see is an actual tour where you actually take students or anybody that's interested and just go out across Pennsylvania and visit these grave sites and really, you know, take ownership of them so that we never again see the erosion that you spoke of these tremendous landmarks.
In fact, Larry Knutson at Penn Trails, which many of your viewers know about, he does bicycle. He's creating for spring of 2011 a bike route trail of all these African American hallowed grounds for us, a loop through central Pennsylvania.
Man, oh man.
That's a little bit like, I guess, what they've done in Boston with the I guess it's Revolutionary War, but it's the sort of history of African Americans in relation to the Freedom Trail, I guess it's called. And so this is our own Freedom Trail.
This is our own Freedom Trail.
This is Pennsylvania's Freedom Trail.
I want to do a Bethel Trail. The Bethel AME churches across Pennsylvania are the sites of 19th century civil rights activity. Every one of those Bethels were the sites of a Negro convention or a Negro conclave. Their leaders and ministers are like a who's who in the civil rights movement of the 19th century, and each is connected by a hallowed